Hey guys, welcome to Unpopular by Choice. And today's unfortunate video is a one of two parts of funeral scams. I mean, I never thought that we would have to cover something like this, but obviously it is very prevalent. It's a scenario that's been played out throughout the history of time. As long as people have been dying, people have been scamming, then taking advantage of their emotional or financial vulnerabilities during such a difficult time. So today we're going to shine a light on just a few of those stories, but trust me, there are so many more out there that have yet to be uncovered. We want to arm you with some tips and some things that you can implore, that you can apply to that unfortunate situation that we all will have to face at some time or another. Open your Bibles, if you would, and follow along to Exodus chapter 22, verses 22 and 23. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, when they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. Proverbs 14, verse 31. Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the poor shows honor to the Lord. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the video. And the first one is a rather long one, but it's really, I think, one of the most important ones that can help you avoid, being taken for the monies and the things that you have during a difficult time, such as the passing of a loved one. So we are going to get into it, this greed for the grieving.
Hey y'all, so I want to talk about how the funeral home is a scam, right? And on my last video about you all knew your loved one was over with before you came to the funeral home, I saw like a large group of people having this conversation about how the funeral home is a scam. So I'm gonna give you a perspective of how I think that you all think that the funeral home is a scam, but I'm gonna give it to you in the perspective of a funeral director, a owner, or just being in a funeral profession, right? So you all, Big Mama passed away on Tuesday, right? And the family's wanting to have a service on Saturday, but not this Saturday, but next Saturday, right? And we're going to also have a visitation that Friday. We want the visitation to be from 4 to 7, or actually everybody's actually going to leave about 7:30. You all want Big Mama to be in this mother casket with her picture in the background. And even if it's not Big Mama and we doing it for little Pookie them, we want the casket to be wrapped with all his photos. And what we also want is we want to be able to call the funeral home. If Big Mama died at 2 a.m. in the morning, we want to be able to talk to a funeral director at 2 in the morning. And we're going to call the funeral home at 7 p.m. and ask about death certificates. And we also want to make sure that Big Mama have on stockings and underwear and t-shirt and stuff, because for some reason you all weren't able to find it at the house. You also want to have a horse and carriage, but not only do you want a horse and carriage, the church is 5 miles away from the actual cemetery, so the horse and carriage can't actually go that far. So we also still have to have a hearse. Not only that, we also want all the family cars that the funeral home have. So they have 2 family cars, but we also have a sprinter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna also include the sprinter into the price bill as well, because the children and their spouses are actually going to drive, be in a family car, and all the grandkids and the siblings are going to be in the sprinter. Oh yeah, and don't forget the visitation the night before, that Friday. We're gonna do it from 4 to 7, and the family actually not gonna leave until 7:30 because everybody catching up, and this is now a family reunion. And not only that, we also want programs and obituaries. We want to do the booklets, right? And we want the booklets that has 5,000 pictures in there. Oh yeah, we also want a slideshow going during the visitation and at the funeral. And we also like them blankets that you all do at the funeral home. We also want to have the big nice casket spray that go on top of the casket, the flowers that go on top of the casket. We want that as well. And we don't want just roses. We want lilies, and we want the roses, and we want all these colors. Oh yeah, don't forget the two sprays, the standing sprays that go on the side of the casket. We want that too. And we want a blanket of sprays, flowers also at the bottom to, showcase Big Mama Beauty. We also want to do prayer cards or bookmarks. We want those as well. And we also want to make sure that Big Mama is going to be ready for next week or the following week, because we're trying to gather all the money. And so Big Mama going to stay at the funeral home, but you all also still have to understand that Big Mama gonna need to be embalmed, and she also need to be in proper refrigeration while you all make these decisions. And also in the mix of all of this, you all want to go to the church, and if you all offer doves, we want to do dove release services as well. And the funeral home is a scam because I build.
I have never, and I mean never, been to a funeral with a horse and carriage, blankets, buggies, doves. Me only missing is elephants and fire rings.
Is $18,000 or $12,000. Yep. The funeral home is a scam. Oh, and don't forget, because Lil Pookie was involved in gang activity, the funeral home also needs to make sure security is present, and not only for the family's sake, but also for the sake of the staff. Yeah, but the funeral home is a scam. Now that I have your attention, let's talk about this pricing, okay? So basic services for funeral director and staff, that is important so that you all can call the funeral home and the accessibility, and also for them to handle the paperwork. And bombing is typically required when you're doing a public visitation, okay? And so being that y'all want to have Big Mama or Pookie service not this week but next week or the following week, or for some people it's a month, they need to be embalmed so that they're properly prepared for this service that you all wish to have. Also, refrigeration is required 24 hours after someone passed away while you all making that decision to have your loved one in proper refrigeration. There's a fee for that. And then for that visitation and use of that room, there's a fee for that, because the funeral home has to pay the light bill for that space that you all are needing. Oh yeah, and by the way, licensed funeral directors, they went to mortuary school, so they have a degree, and then they went into their state board as well as the national board to have license. So you have to pay them for their services, and you have to have a licensed funeral director on the service as well as meeting with the licensed funeral director. And then you all want hearse. So in order to have a hearse to transport your loved one from the place of passing, when we went to pick them up at the hospital to bring them to the funeral home, or from the home to bring them to the funeral home, then to take them to the church, or for some families they want to use the chapel, there's a fee. Even if the funeral home do a package, what they have done in the package is put it all consolidated so that it's not in each individual price, and a lot of times they do it at a discounted price. So if you don't mind, just leave in the comment section how you think the funeral home is a scam, so that I can help you understand where the funeral home is coming with their prices. Us as a black community, as an African American community, which is majority of my following, which is why I'm addressing that comment in the manner of which I just recently did. We have to understand that the funeral home is a business, okay? We understand that you all are grieving, but you also have to understand that you ain't going to the doctor's office. You ain't going when they tell you that your loved one need to go on hospice. You're not saying, oh, we can't figure out how to pay this, right? We're going to find out with insurance, okay? We're gonna use the Medicaid. We're gonna use insurance, or we're gonna bring her back to the house, or him back to the house. Okay, so the difference is you all think that since you're grieving and you're hurt because you're losing someone, that the funeral home should not charge you for those services. They are surrendering services. In order to have those nice cars that you all want, there's a bill for those. For the building that you're using, there's a bill for that building. It's no difference. They're just providing a service to you all at this amount. Look on your statements of goods and services, and there are fees that are on there. It's a breakdown. Look for the general price list before you sit down and do a contract. As soon as you all start talking about money, the funeral home should give you a general price list. There's a breakdown. Then there's no confusion about what you're paying. Okay. In regards to the comments about caskets, yes, you're absolutely right. You're more than welcome to go to Costco. You're more than welcome to order off of Amazon. You're more than welcome to order them off of some of those other websites that you all were talking about in the comment section. But understand that consequences come with all our actions, right? So I have seen families that would try to go the route of ordering a third party casket themselves, and guess what happened? The casket being used, somebody sent it back because their loved one was actually cremated. They just needed it for the use of their service. So now you got somebody used casket. Or what I would see is the casket is not what you all think it is, and so once the funeral home.
I don't know. I mean, which y'all can. I mean, there's some further explanation on that. She's not being exactly very clear on what a used casket entails. But I mean, would you care? I mean, I honestly don't think that I would. But I don't plan on going through none of this when I cross over. No.
With your loved one in the casket, the bed, you wonder why your loved one looks so low down in the casket because the bed is stationary and they can't rise the bed up. Or you want to know why your loved one casket don't lock and they don't give you a key, or whatever the situation it may be. Not all funeral homes give a key, but for those like, well, why the casket don't lock at the end? Well, because you didn't buy a ceiling casket. A gasket casket. There's so many things that go into play. So for you all to think that it's a scam, it's not a scam. You're paying for those services. The same way if you do cremation, there's a fee to be able to be cremated. They can't just turn the retort on at no price. There's a fee for that, you guys. So the difference is because you're hurting, you feel like people are taking advantage of you, but you have the option to have A, life insurance, and B, pre-planning. There are ways to pre-need your services. You're in your right state of mind and you don't have to worry about it. And guess what? Now you have the option to do payments. Because when you pass away, funeral homes ain't doing payment options no more, you guys. They're just not. Because you know what? The same way your credit is not good, we know that you're not going to come back and pay that funeral bill once the funeral home has placed your loved one
Actually,
in
no.
the grave. So there are alternative options. So the same way we prepare for everything else in life, we have to prepare for death. I'll see you all on the next video. I hope this was able to help someone.
What you guys think? What you guys think? Comment down below. I mean, have you ever experienced anything like this or similar to this? Let me know.
What's up? It's the most handsome, beautiful, elite dad. I'm looking really gracious. But as much as I love our black melanated people, you know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me show y'all this. I'm at a funeral home right now. These niggas got a Cybertruck, a Bentley, a G-Wagon, and a Lamborghini. What the hell? What the hell does any of that have to do with... Who is ordering this stuff, bro? I need to get me a funeral home because this shit don't make no sense. Hold on. Carriages? Rolls Royce? Escalades? Hey, black folk, black people. Let me. Funeral homes doing it like that? I need to get me a funeral home. I'm gonna put a funeral home in my son's name. Clock that. What are you talking about?
So I understand what you're doing, and I'm sorry that you're going through this. However, we cannot have you guys walking in the middle of the roadway. Okay, it's interfering with the flow of traffic. It risks you getting hurt or one of them getting hurt and someone else getting into a crash. Okay? So I understand. I don't know if you have any. Did you have any permit? You have to also have a permit to select it. Okay? You what? I don't have this business. You don't have a permit? Okay. So yeah, that's another thing that you have to do. You have to make sure that you're pulling the right permits too, okay? Again, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm not trying to be inhumane or discredit what you're going through at all. I understand you're probably going through a lot of pain, but you can't be out here walking in the middle of the roadway. Okay? How many of you are out here? 4. 4? Okay. Do you have a way of calling them so they can all come here so I can tell them the same thing? Okay. When did this happen? Where?
France, Europe.
Where?
Europe, France, France.
Was that your daughter? Niece? Was she like vacationing over there? Was she living over there? Oh. Do you have someone else over there on that side?
No, but
I don't know where they went. I saw him, but I don't know where he went. Were you guys over here previously on the other side of the parkway?
no.
No?
Because this day.
Just today?
Yeah.
Okay. So, is this your mom? Okay. So what I was telling her is, I'm sorry what happened to your family. It's very tragic. I'm sorry that you're going through that. However, we can't have you guys walking in traffic. Okay? If you can, just relay the information to the other guy. I don't know where he went. Do you guys have any ID with you?
Did.
No? What's your first name?
Dimitri.
What is it?
Dimitri.
Say it for me.
As a homicide survivor, you learn a lot of information that you'd rather not know about, but sometimes it can be handy. And that's what I want to talk about today is funeral scams. I've learned quite a bit about this, and I just want to present a few pointers here because, let's face it, at some point,
This woman right here, this video, this clip is full of really good, valuable information, such as the first one. But yeah, so pay attention to this one. You may want to save this
in your life, this is going to come in handy. The first thing I want you to understand is such a thing called the funeral rule. It can be downloaded from the internet. It's really short. You should read it, understand it, and take it with you to any funeral home. Better yet, bring a friend along who also understands it, because when the high pressure tactics begin, you've got that as a point of reference. And when the high sales tactics begin, I would recommend that you ask for a break and talk to your friend in private and understand you don't need to make a decision that moment. One of the things driving the increase in prices is because funeral homes that are small, the ones that are family owned, are being bought out and cobbled together to make corporations. And they are large, and they don't pass the savings along to the customer. They may retain the old name and even the old staff to give the impression that you're dealing locally, but you're really not. Such an example would be Service Corp International, based out of Houston. They are the largest. They even have some in Cuba and other countries. Just to give you a glimpse as to how much they earn, their CEO with stock options, etc., earns $38,000 per day in his salary. And as I said, they're not passing the savings along to the customer. As a matter of fact, prices are likely to go up. So here's some ways you can save yourself thousands of dollars for a funeral. One is, of course, shop around. That's kind of a no-brainer, but they're making that more difficult because they're more increasingly not posting their prices online. So if you have to call or contact the funeral home, get it in writing. Email them rather than phone them and ask them to send you their prices in writing. The other thing that's happening is that they will use fine print at the very bottom that hints at the fact that they're not local, but you have to know the words you're looking for, like a shared enterprise or corporation or affiliate. Did you know that you can buy caskets from Costco, Walmart, and Amazon online and have them shipped at a very low cost, or in some cases no cost? And that will save you thousands of dollars right there. And the funeral rule states that the funeral home must accept any casket you want, including a pine box. They can't change that. And don't fall for the high pressure tactic of, well, we sell extra pricey showroom models with gaskets on them to help preserve the body. Really, that's not the function of a casket. And in fact, the sealing tightly of a casket is dangerous, and I'll leave it to your imagination to figure out why. You can even rent a casket, and while that sounds ghastly, it really isn't. The renting of the casket is merely the exterior, the metal part around the body. The interior, the lining, is wood, and so the body never touches the outside of the casket. The wood in the body is then removed, or the liner in the body is then removed for later if you want to have it cremated, if you want to have it buried. And that will save you quite a bit as well. Some funeral homes will pressure you into signing, if you have life insurance, that is, they will pressure you into signing an insurance assignment agreement contract. Be careful, because what that means is they're working on your behalf. And so they may inflate prices on that contract. They may include services you don't want or need and then not perform them later, who's to know, and pocket the difference. And should they violate the terms of your insurance policy, that can be declared null and void and you're out of pocket altogether as far as your insurance goes. Funeral homes sometimes offer to write obituaries for you. They are entirely optional. You do not have to have an obituary. If you do, be aware that the number of days in the paper, the length of them, and how sophisticated they are, like whether or not you have photographs and so on, will determine the cost. So the bottom line is to know the funeral rule, take somebody a little less emotionally involved with you to the funeral home to protect you from high pressure tactics, compare prices, shop around, and just know that you're under no obligation to work with the first funeral home that you should go to. For more information, go ahead and read my blog and I'll list the contact information here.
The funeral rule, guys. Download it, read it, keep it. One day, unfortunately, you most likely will need it.
The Harris County Precinct 1 Constable's Office says that there could be more victims of an alleged funeral scam. Officials arrested 2 people, Javen Majors and Sandy Broussard. Constable Alan Rosen says the 2 preyed on victims during their most vulnerable times while grieving the loss of a loved one and stole thousands of dollars through life insurance policies by forging signatures.
Still, my cousin today, a year later, she's never had a receipt of death certificate. The names were wrong on my sister's death certificate. We sit down with this man and told him the names and spelled it out for him. But still, we have no death certificate and no ashes.
Whatever the bodies is not anymore. The bodies are too warm. They, like my brother, like he had dirt on his face, like he was already buried and then pulled back out the ground. We didn't get the proper, nothing that we asked for that we needed. Like, so I just feel like he took my moment and I feel like justice just needs to be served.
Well, the Precinct 1 office is urging victims to call their office. Their number is 713-755-5200.